have to ask yourself, am I an enhancement or am I a hindrance? Because if I'm not walking in God's divine order over my life, I'm a hindrance. Because we could be a hindrance to people's growth, we could be a hindrance to our relationships. So we want to be able to enhance their lives. And the purpose, again, for that enhancement is not for our own glory, but to prepare us for works of service. To be a service to one another. To serve one another. We say it all the time. Love one another as Christ has loved us. Right? Do unto others as you want it to be done unto you. Love your neighbor as yourself. So it's a reciprocal relationship that requires something of each of us. Now, when we begin to do that, what happens is that we start to make, like I said, those deposits into our different accounts. So here's another story. As we begin to move through, we begin to grow, we begin to develop, we started to work in some arenas that were not all together, but we knew we had expertise to work in those particular areas. So whatever I know to do, I do that. In Colossians, he says, whatever you find your hands to do it as unto Christ. So I go into the job, I do the work. When I was working, or just started working, I always organized and cleaned stuff, put stuff in order. I didn't know I was being apostolic at that time. I was just like, it's messy, I need to put it in order. I created structures and systems. That's what I do now for a living. And so I would go in and I would just clean out the cabinet. I wouldn't make an announcement. I'm cleaning out the cabinet. Don't touch the stuff. Don't come in here. Don't bother anything. And put it back where I told you to put it back. I just go in, take everything out, organize it, label it, clean it out. What happened was that because I gave that act of service, people automatically started to put things back where it belonged. Why? Because I created a system of how we're going to operate, or how we're going to do things. So that it made me, because I created that system, it required them to come up to what they were doing. Instead of me sitting over in my corner grumbling, like, these just nasty people. Why do they always do this? This just don't make no sense. They don't have no home training. Da, 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 da. No. Give an act of service and watch people change how they respond to you just because of that act of service. Another setting we work in, the people are so disgruntled. They're just miserable people. It's a whole town of them. And they're just miserable people. It's like it's a cloud over that town and they're just miserable people. So I'm assigned to that region for 2 years. Am I going to be miserable every time I go to that region? No. I'm going to smile. I'm going to greet the workers. I'm going to greet the gas person. I'm going to say hello. I'm going to hold open the door when I go through it. I'm not going to let the door slam in my face, even though that's what's done to me. Because what? I'm making a deposit in their region. So me being in that region causes a reaction. I was doing some research and some reading, and I was talking about making some notes for this book that I'm going to develop. But I was making a note about relationship building. And you know, when we come into a new place, sometimes we're introduced to that place, right? And so it depends on who introduces you. So maybe I'm the building maintenance, no one cares for me, no one likes me. And then I introduce you. And I say, and this is my good friend. So based on that introduction, who am I going to be valued as? You're a good friend. The building maintenance person who's mean and ornery, and he doesn't think about anybody but himself. But he introduced me to Sister So-and-so. So at that point, I have a decision to make. I get to stand in his stead, because I'm introduced as his friend, or I get to build a new relationship and let them determine who I am, aside from who I was introduced by or brought in by. Because sometimes we're brought into systems by someone else, so we're automatically assume we're just like that person. It's usually not the case. So as a new person, I'm being introduced. So now I'm here, everyone knows the bus is going around. Yeah, you know, so-and-so, they're a good friend. Oh, they must be just like them. They don't know any better until what? We show them different. So then they begin to know me. So I go in, I greet them, I say good morning, and every morning I do that, and they're like, wow, they're kind of nice. They say good morning to me. And then when we're asked to do something, oh, I volunteered to do that, I'll do that. Then they develop, oh, she's going to actually help us. She's actually going to work. And they're like, oh, well, maybe she's not like so-and-so who introduced her, right? Because I've developed my own introduction by the way that I behave and my character and how I present myself. So now they have a new basis for our relationship. They're like, man, that sister, she's pretty good. She's pretty nice. I like hanging around with her. But you know, she also likes this X, Y, Z. Because when you begin to introduce yourself to people and talk to people, you get to know who they are, what their likes are, and then you begin to have interest. They're like, hey, I was out shopping and I noticed this and I knew you liked or you collected this item. I picked that up for you. You picked that up for me? Yeah, here you go. And they're like, well, let me give you some money. No, it's okay. You don't need any money. This is what I found. I just picked it up for you. You're building capital in your relationships. So you're establishing, even in a system that's not working, you're establishing a new system of order. Everyone else is in chaos, but this one person has peace, and I can come to them in confidence. My business stays where it needs to stay, and I can begin to build a relationship on that. And they're a Christian, and I found out they like to do the same things that I like to do. Boom, I now have a new relationship. But that never happens if we never approach those doors. If we stay in our little cubicle, you know, with our sign, do not disturb, you know, don't come in here talking, just go do your job, focus on mine, leave. No, I'm not eating in the lunchroom, I'm going to my car, or I'm going to run this errand because I don't want to be bothered with any of you. That's not how we build a relationship. So this same story as it plays out, I have a sister who just experienced this. And her co-worker had left God and had left the church and had been out of the church for a long time. And when she went away, went to a conference in Chicago. She went to the conference in Chicago and she came back refreshed and renewed. This co-worker had been watching her all of these years that they worked together. And her last day, I think, is today, was today at work. And she left her a note on her chair and said, thank you for living out the Christ that I know before me. Because I've been watching you and observing you, and I see the love of God, the true love of God in your heart, I have a new love and appreciation for my God.